Hey all you cool cats and kittens out there. Hey everybody, welcome to Tech Talk with Zone Off-Road. I'm Andy, the lead tech in the tech department here at Zone. We're bringing you this video series to answer frequently asked questions regarding lift kits, suspension systems, and general off-roading. If you have a topic you want us to talk about, feel free to send us a message on social media or email the tech department here at tech-zone@ridefox.com. Hope to hear from you. To begin this video series, we're going to talk about lift blocks and when we use them and why we use them. There's a lot of factors that our engineers use to determine what lift block to use and whether it needs to be tapered or flat. One of the most common questions that I see in the tech department is, hey, I just bought your guys' lift kit. My rear lift blocks are not tapered. Why? Because a lot of people seem to think that when you do a lift, it requires a tapered block, which is not always the case. A tapered block can be necessary depending on driveline angles. We want to keep equal and opposite driveline angles from the transfer case down to the rear pinion. So that can be accomplished multiple ways. The main way that happens is by using a tapered block. Now, another way that can happen is by using a shim. Now, I have a shim here. This is a 2.5 degree shim. This is a bolt-on style. So this is going to bolt directly to the leaf spring pack. And that is going to, in turn, make it so that you don't necessarily have to use a tapered block. Or, this is oftentimes used to make minor adjustments to your pinion angle if you're experiencing a driveline vibration. Now, with most kits and most trucks, we're able to pretty accurately nail it down to this truck requires this specific block with this specific taper or a flat block. That's not always the case. Occasionally you get that rare one that just is finicky. And with those ones, that's where these shims come in handy because we're able to make those minor adjustments. So let's go over to the truck that I got on the hoist here and we'll take a look at flat blocks versus tapered blocks. So the largest factor that we have to look at when determining what we're going to do for a lift block in a suspension system is whether it's tapered or flat. Now, this truck naturally comes with a small tapered block. It's 2 inches, but if you were to physically measure it, it measures 2.25 in the front, 2.5 in the back. Now, that's how we can tell that it's a tapered block. They're different measurements. If it's a flat block, obviously that measurement is going to be the same. Now, when we are talking about lift blocks and what we're doing, you don't always necessarily continue with the same style of block that the truck had from the factory. So in this case, the truck's got a tapered block. That doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to stick with a tapered block. We may convert that to a flat block if that's what's required for the proper driveline angles. We're going to look at equal and opposite angles coming from the transfer case down to the rear differential, and that's how we're going to determine the proper angle of the driveline and proper block that we're going to use. Now, this truck's got a single piece drive shaft, but some trucks come equipped with a factory 2-piece drive shaft, and that contains a carrier bearing in the middle. Now, some trucks that have that are going to require a carrier bearing drop depending on how much rear lift height we do. So a carrier bearing is not something that every truck has. It is a variable and something that you need to look at your specific vehicle and see if it comes with a carrier bearing from the factory or not. Now that we've talked about flat blocks versus tapered blocks, let's take a look at block construction and pin position. Now, we use either a cast iron block that's made out of ductile iron, or we go to a fully fabricated block like this one. Now, this is from an F-150. An F-150 in the late model years has got a dual pin design. So 2 pins coming out of the leaf spring that are going into the block. Now, what you'll notice with this block is there's only a single pin on the bottom. The reason for that is because we are actually offsetting the axle to keep it centered in the wheel well. Now, with this block, it's offset about 1/2 inch forward. And not only does that keep that axle centered in the wheel well, that also provides better drive shaft engagement. So one of the most commonly asked questions that we get in the tech department is, how much height am I going to gain from installing a lift block? That's a very simple answer. A lift block is going to provide a 1-to-1 ratio, so 1 inch of lift per 1 inch of height. So a 3-inch block is going to net 3 inches of lift. Theoretically, it's that simple. We come into factors of what did the truck come with from the factory. If the truck didn't come with a block from the factory, then a 3-inch block is going to net 3 inches of height. If a truck came with a 2-inch block from the factory and we're replacing it with a 3-inch block, we're only going to net 1 inch of height. So there's a couple of factors that come into play when answering that question. One of the other things is bolt-on blocks. You can do a bolt-on block along with a standard block. Bolt-on block is going to be generally a 1-inch or a 2-inch block that's going to bolt directly to the leaf spring pack. Now this is going to happen via the center pin of the leaf spring. You're going to remove the factory center pin, put the new block and a new center pin in place, and that's going to increase that block height, but it's not the same as stacking blocks. What we don't want to have happen is take two different blocks that are different heights and stack them on top of each other. There's potential for rotation there, and that's a dangerous thing to happen. So we definitely don't want to be stacking blocks. Alright, so that covers all of the main topics of lift blocks and what we use to determine the size and angle of them in our lift kits. If you have any questions on this, feel free to comment below, send us a message on social media, or feel free to email the tech department at tech-zone@ridefox.com. In the future, keep your eyes peeled for more tech talk videos from us. And if you have something you want to hear us talk about, definitely feel free to send us a message on social media, or again, email us, tech-zone@ridefox.com. Till next time, we'll see you.